If you don't know, Hillary Clinton's new book will be out on September 12th. Because I like maximum trolling, I will be releasing chapter 3 of my book, Corporate Con Job, the same day. That chapter, coincidentally, is called The Soft Bigotry of Hillary's Expectations. It is a completely raw, behind the scenes, and factual bombshell chapter on what really doomed the Clinton campaign, on what my experiences dealing with them were behind the scenes, and a lot of things I'm sure you would like to know that the Clintons and the Peter Dows of the world and the Neera Tandons of the world do not want you to know. So, after this live stream, I'll be going live on my personal Facebook page. Go like my personal Facebook page. I'll be going live to talk more about the upcoming chapter. Again, I'm releasing it on the same day Hillary Clinton releases her book. A little trolling, shall I say, of my BFF, Hillary Clinton. But I wanted to talk about the excerpts that have come out. As you know, Hillary Clinton has been leaking and releasing some of the snippets from her book. It's called What Happened. I don't really think you need to read the book to know what happened. She lost to an orange orangutan. That's what happened. But I digress. If neoliberals, if Clintonites want to read the book, by all means. I don't plan on it, but I have read some of the excerpts. And it's always mind-boggling to me, you know. Hillary Clinton, God bless her, has a right to write a book. If she wants to make money off the book, go ahead. I'd prefer if she just continued to stay in the woods with her dog and Bill and, you know, let the country move on. Let the progressives take over. You know, you've had your time in the sun. You lost twice. I don't mean to be harsh, but like, enough. This book, be done, be gone after the book. But she is obviously rewriting history because if there's anything we know about Hillary Clinton, she cannot take accountability. So she'll say things like, well, I take full responsibility, but Bernie, but Russia, but the mailman, but. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And Ty disagrees with me a little bit, but that's okay.
That's not true.
We'll get to it.
The only thing I said is read the book.
Okay. So let me read you a couple snippets here, if you've already read, and press the share button. Let's get this out here. So she writes, some of his supporters, the so-called Bernie bros, took to harassing my supporters online. It got ugly and more than a little sexist, she wrote. What's amazing about that is she talks about the so-called Bernie bros as if her campaign didn't literally create the term out of thin air and then plant it with the media. That's actually what happened. If you follow the WikiLeaks releases, I know, I'm a Kremlin agent. By the way, I'm wearing my hindsight is 2020 shirt, so you know what I think. So she's saying the so-called Bernie bros as if, oh, I'm just talking, you know, I heard there's this thing called Bernie bros. WikiLeaks showed that Hillary Clinton's campaign came up with the term and planted it with their friends at MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, all the usual suspects. So right there, she's being dishonest to say, oh, the so-called Bernie bros. No, your campaign created it. Your campaign planted it with your friends in the media. That's exactly what happened. So she says, Sanders had to resort to innuendo and impugning my character because the Democrats, quote, agreed on so much. That's a bullshit sandwich as I've ever heard one. Number one, Sanders isn't the only one that was talking about your Wall Street transcripts. Martin O'Malley, if you remember him, he was in the race for 5 minutes. Martin O'Malley, I interviewed him at the primary debate between Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Martin O'Malley, if you could go back this far, Lincoln Chafee, and Jim Webb, if you remember. There were 5 candidates for the Democratic nomination at first. Martin O'Malley took her on about her Wall Street speeches. Lincoln Chafee took her on about her Wall Street speeches. And what Clintonites and neoliberals and their allies in the media have been very, very expert in doing is conflating hitting her on her record with, quote, impugning her character. Nobody, but you never heard Bernie Sanders talk about Hillary Clinton, you know, why she stayed with Bill Clinton after being cheated on. You never heard of Bernie Sanders talking about, you know, Hillary Clinton, you know, she hasn't driven a car in 25 years and is out of touch. You never heard Bernie Sanders talking about anything personal. Bernie Sanders, rightly, frankly, I don't think he did it hard enough, if we're being completely honest, rightly said, listen, You say you're going to take it to Wall Street, yet you gave behind closed door speeches to Wall Street and you won't release the transcripts. That's not impugning the character. Hillary Clinton or other bought off politicians, you're not entitled to be corrupt. You're not entitled to basically say one thing and then funnel money from special interests and then not be called on it. That's not impugning your character. That's taking you on your record. So in politics, you make decisions if you want to take risks. Hillary Clinton, because she was arrogant, because she was out of touch, she made the decision, oh, me giving speeches to Goldman Sachs, me giving speeches to Morgan Stanley, me not releasing those speeches, that's just, I'm going to make the money. WikiLeaks also showed that she didn't want her husband, Bill Clinton, to cancel a speech after she initially launched because she wanted to make that money. And again, you make choices in life and you make choices in politics. If she wanted to go make money in private speeches, that's fine. But you don't get to sit there and say, he impugned my character by calling me out. And as we saw, she said she was doing a lot of ass kissing in these behind closed door speeches. And she infamously said, I have a private position and a public position. Well, that's not impugning your character. You impugned your character by talking one way when you were kissing ass to Goldman Sachs bankers and talking another way on stage. It doesn't make you an evil person. It makes you a dishonest person. It makes you an unethical person. It makes you just another politician in a year that people were looking for an average, authentic person who wasn't going to funnel money in one breath and say, I'm for the workers in another. So I don't want to hear he had to resort to innuendo and impugning my character. It wasn't innuendo. These were facts. You said these things in behind closed door speeches. There's also a record. As I tell the audience all the time, go to opensecrets.org if you want to know what industries politicians take money from, what industries candidates take money from. Bernie Sanders didn't make Hillary Clinton take millions and millions and millions of dollars from Wall Street bankers. Bernie Sanders didn't make Hillary Clinton vote for the Iraq War and push intervention in Libya and push more troops in Afghanistan and all the other things Hillary Clinton did. Bernie Sanders did not make Hillary Clinton call for in Syria no-fly zones. Bernie Sanders didn't create her record. She did. And Bernie Sanders called her out on her record. But Hillary Clinton, because this is a trademark of Hillary Clinton, frankly, this is a trademark of a lot of neoliberals, particularly the females in her orbit. If you are attacked on your record, what do? They call you sexist. They call you a Bernie bro. They say you're mansplaining. And of course, Hillary Clinton did call him sexist. Let me read you a longer part. Throughout the primaries, every time I wanted to hit back against Bernie's attacks, I was told to restrain myself. Noting that his plans didn't add up, that they would inevitably mean raising taxes on middle-class families, or that they were little more than a pipe dream, all of this could be used to reinforce his argument that I wasn't a true progressive. My team kept reminding me that we didn't want to alienate Bernie supporters. President Obama urged me to grit my teeth and lay off Bernie as much as I could. I felt as if I was in a straitjacket. Well, I'm going to borrow from my girlfriend, Kellyanne Conway. Those are alternative facts. So, every time I wanted to hit back against Bernie's attacks, I was in Iowa, I was in New Hampshire, I was in South Carolina, I was in Colorado, I was in Indiana. I watched the TV. Hillary Clinton did many negative ads about Bernie Sanders. It's not like she didn't attack him. So this is nonsense. She did many negative ads on Bernie Sanders. Secondly, as I just said before, Hillary Clinton's campaign was planting bullshit pieces with corporate outlets about the Bernie bros, that they're a bunch of angry white cult members, in Joan Walsh's words, another Hillbot. Basically, so this alternative history that, I restrained myself, I didn't attack Bernie. All you got to do, if you have the time and the energy, go through the WikiLeaks records. They did not restrain themselves. And by the way, this is something that's not mentioned. I haven't seen CNN mention it, but wasn't President Obama and his administration the neutral ones? Weren't they supposedly neutral and not really getting involved between Bernie and Hillary? But she says, President Obama urged me to grit my teeth and lay off Bernie as much as I can. Well, the bottom line is this, Miss Clinton. Did you hit Bernie over the head with a crowbar like Clinton's have done to other candidates? No, I don't think it was that bad. But you did impugn Bernie's character. And also, when you say that his plans, that they would inevitably mean raising taxes on middle-class families, that's, again, Clinton PR spin. It's out of context. Bernie's plans, yes, would have raised taxes, I believe, 2% in some areas to get things like Medicare for all, to get things like free public college. It's not like he was proposing raising taxes without you getting something. Bernie's plan would have raised your taxes, but actually saved you more money because you wouldn't have to deal with deductibles. You wouldn't have to deal with copays. So she, in her book, is lying and taking him out of context. It's not, if you just say he would raise middle income taxes, yes, but middle income families would save more money from those small increase in taxes. But that's exactly what Clinton did on the campaign. That's what her campaign did. And by the way, in fairness to her, she's not the first politician to spin. She's not the first politician to attack her candidate, the other candidate, out of context. And I've said it before. I don't think Bernie Sanders was hard enough in response. I think in many cases, Bernie went to a knife fight holding a spoon. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to win on the issues. He didn't want to resort down and dirty, which is partly why he lost. Because honestly, you cannot run on just the issues and have this, highfalutin kind debate with political assassins. And that's what the Clintons are. That's what they've always been. So when she says, he was going to raise taxes and his plans were a pipe dream, she doesn't understand that is why you lost. People don't want to vote for someone giving them a steady diet of low expectations. People don't want to vote for someone saying, hey, ideally we could have creme brulee every night, but you got to have your broccoli, and we can't have dessert in America because there's realities in government and we just can't get certain things done. Real leaders inspire people. Real leaders do not propose continuing the status quo. Real leaders can propose radical change, because we are in time right now, we're in a crisis. When income inequality has exploded over the last 30 years, when people's wages have stagnated or declined, but their production has skyrocketed, that's not a tiny problem. That is a crisis. I went to Ohio. I went to Michigan. I went to Pennsylvania, Illinois. A lot of these areas look like ghost towns because their jobs have been sent off to Mexico, to China, and all that. And Hillary Clinton was part of those decisions as First Lady when Bill Clinton signed NAFTA and sent our jobs offshore. So when she says, was a pipe dream, no, it wasn't a pipe dream. It's just Hillary Clinton did not have the political leadership or the vision to inspire people. And Hillary Clinton wanted to play it safe and continue the status quo and get power and, push out the small crumbs of change or incrementalism. Well, the time for incrementalism is over. She also says, all of this could be used to reinforce his argument that I wasn't a true progressive. Well, I think you pushed that argument. Bernie Sanders didn't force you to pick Tim Kaine as your vice president. Bernie Sanders didn't force you and your campaign and the DNC to treat Bernie Sanders delegates like human scum at the Democratic National Convention. I was there. They kicked Bernie delegates out of the arena. They gave away their seats, and they treated them like second-class citizens. Bernie Sanders didn't force Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC to do that. Now, did they? Bernie Sanders did not force Hillary Clinton to say, I'm not for Medicare for all. I'm for this expanding Obamacare, whatever that meant. Bernie Sanders did not force you to not be for free public college tuition. The list can go on and on. Progressives thought you weren't progressive because you're not. It's that simple. You are not progressive. There's this thing called the internet. There's this thing called social media. There's this thing called the Young Turks, Democracy Now!, Kyle Kalinske, Lee Camp, Jimmy Dore. I could go on and on and on. People now have outlets where they could get the true facts of her record, First Bernie's record. That's why progressives didn't vote for you. And when people and pundits were saying, I believe in around July, 90% of Bernie voters would end up voting for her, I said, I don't know what the science behind your polls are, but that ain't happening. Because I was out in the country talking to Bernie supporters, and it seemed to me that Bernie supporters at that time would rather vote for my left toe than Hillary Clinton. And we saw she was down, I believe, 6% among ages 18 to 29, which played a big part in her losing, in addition to being down among African Americans and Latinos. Did Bernie Sanders make African Americans not come out to vote for Hillary Clinton? Did Bernie Sanders make Hillary Clinton's campaign not even get... Many people don't know this. Hillary Clinton's campaign did not get on the air for African American radio until a week before the election. She took the black vote for granted. She didn't get on the air, African American media, a week before the election. She pulled out volunteers out of Michigan before the general election, thinking that Michigan was a done deal. She did not go down to Wisconsin. Did Bernie Sanders make those decisions? No. How could Bernie Sanders make those decisions for her? He was too busy holding his nose and going around the country, barnstorming the country for Hillary Clinton. Yet Hillary Clinton has the audacity, and I say audacity, to slam Bernie Sanders when Bernie Sanders sucked it up. And I have good sources that have told me Bernie Sanders wasn't exactly enjoying going around the country advocating for electing Hillary Clinton, but he did it because he saw the bigger picture, which was Donald Trump. Now, I know a lot of you don't like that he did that. Some of you call him sellouts. I think that's ridiculous. The world is not black or white. And if Bernie Sanders to you is a sellout, then you're going to have a very small locker room of politicians you follow. Bernie Sanders is not a sellout. He had made a decision that Donald Trump was not someone he could support, or he would do whatever he had to do to stop Donald Trump, even if that meant pushing Hillary Clinton. But he went around the country. At times, he was going to more rallies for Hillary Clinton than Hillary Clinton was doing rallies. So it's not only unappreciative of Hillary Clinton to slam Bernie Sanders when he did that for her, it's just alternative history. So,
fun fact,
hold on.
Hillary Clinton is starting her book tour in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Maybe she's thinking for 2020. By the way, there's a lot of things that I can take as a journalist, but I cannot take another Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. If she runs for president again, I'm not covering it. Sorry, I can't do it. We got to move on. And to the Peter Dows of the world, and to the Neera Tandons of the world, and to the John Podestas of the world, and to the Jennifer Palmieris of the world. By the way, most of you are featured in the chapter 3 of my book, Corporate Con Job. That's corporateconjob.com, which will be out if you missed what I said. I'm trolling Hillary Clinton. She's releasing her book on the 12th, next week. I'm releasing chapter 3, all about Hillary's campaign. I'm exposing the corrupt. I'm exposing the frauds. And I will tell you the truth about Hillary Clinton's campaign. It's coming out the same day. If you want to support me, you could support me. I just put the Patreon link up on my Twitter, so go there after this.